sure you are. Who do we have from the It's a beautiful day there.
Absolutely.
And who's at the PDs?
Jacob Marsh.
Hi, sorry, Mr. Marsh.
No worries.
I looked up, I would have seen that. You were just right there. You're right off to the side. Good morning, Ms. Orozco. Are you covering today?
Yes, I am. Good morning, Your Honor.
All right.
Ready? Good to go? Yep.
And is Mr. Cano joining us this morning? Jail.
Sorry, Your Honor, what was that?
Is Mr. Cano joining us today?
No, Your Honor, he has refused for today.
Yes.
All right, let me take care of that one. Are we continuing him to tonight? Is that the plan?
Good.
Okay.
How many times did we continue?
He's been continued quite a bit. It to be like instead people just like
Okay. I don't have any of the pre-trial stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Judge, would you be all right? We would be willing to waive his presence. The jail's telling me it's been continued a number of times.
No,
Okay.
I'm not going to waive presence for an initial appearance. So, I mean, he has to appear at some point. Sure, now that he must appear for his initial appearance tonight, and the jail is able to use whatever force necessary to get him here that results in the safety of both him and corrections officers and personnel. So let's get him to night court tonight, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, this is Court Interpreter Pedro Davis. Before you go into the flow of this morning's proceedings, there are no Spanish speakers in this morning's list.
That is my understanding. Is that right, Jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Bye, Mr. Davis. Have a good day.
You understand? Thank you. Thank you, staff.
And Your Honor, I think Jill would like to start with Mr. Bracamontes.
Yeah, he's the next on the list after Mr. Cano, who refused. So we're good. And I'm caught up. So whenever you're ready. Good morning. Tell me your name.
Daniel Martin Bracamonte.
Mr. Bracamonte, you are here today on charges of aggravated assault, serious physical injury, aggravated assault, deadly weapon, and burglary in the first degree. These are felony charges. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the proceedings here today. We're here to discuss your conditions of release. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. They prepare a report for the court that tells me a little bit about you and the circumstances of this offense. I've also had an opportunity to review the state's recommendation as to your conditions of release. They're asking for a $25,000 bond and then release to pretrial services if you do post that bond. Ms. Orozco, did you want to be heard further?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Marsh.
Thank you, Your Honor. As I'm sure the court knows, Daniel is a 1 on the failure to appear scale. He's exactly as likely to show to court as you or I. He has verified housing with his mother, who has agreed to transport him to and from any future court obligations. He is 17 years old with no history of any kind, juvenile or felony. I'd also like to note for the court's attention just that second to last paragraph in the interim complaint that talks about not only the victim and the witnesses chasing Daniel after it seems an attempted property crime had already stopped, but the victim's statement to police that he punched Daniel in the mouth, struck him repeatedly in the face, kicked him in the stomach, and it was not until, in the victim's words, Daniel was on his knees that Daniel is alleged to have stabbed the victim. Again, and I'm not saying that excuses the behavior here. And although there is maybe a self-defense theory suggested in the interim complaint, I know that's not for the court to decide today. I do just think the interim complaint demonstrates that at least toward the end of this interaction, with, in the victim's words, Daniel on his knees, he might have felt he had to do that. So for those reasons, we're asking for a $2,500 bond, given the lack of history and given the fact that he, all indications say he can show up to court. Thank you.
I am going to impose a $20,000 bond. I will note, in addition to what you said, Mr. Marsh, is Mr. Bracamonte was there with a ski mask and obviously had a knife when he went to commit this offense. So I am going to impose a $20,000 cash secured bond today. Mr. Bracamonte, if that bond gets posted, then you're going to be released to pretrial services. That's an agency with the court. If you get released, you are going to be required to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You are not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You can't have any firearms or weapons. You're not to have any contact with the victims in this case, and you may not return to the incident location. Do you understand all of those conditions of release?
Yes, ma'am.
Your next court date is going to be a preliminary hearing. That's going to occur on May 5th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That hearing may or may not occur, so it's going to be important that you stay in contact with your attorney so that you know if that date changes. You are responsible for showing up at all future hearings, or a warrant could be issued for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
If you stay in custody, Mr. Bracamontes, then the jail will make sure that you get to your next hearing, either via video like you're doing here today, or they'll transport you. If you do get out of custody and someone posts the bond for you, then you're going to need to make sure to stay in contact with your attorney from the public defender's office. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, you're all done for today.
If you're inform the court, Mr. Fraley is unavailable once again today.
All right, we will continue him to this evening's session as well.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear that last name.
Fraley?
Okay, thank you.
So it looks like we're on to the misdemeanors. Are we beginning with Mr. Bauman? There we go. Hi, sir. Tell me your name.
Derek G. Butler.
Mr. Bauman, you are here on several different matters. You're here for a drug paraphernalia charge out of Pima County Justice Court, and then you have multiple matters out of Tucson City Court that you're here for today as well. It looks like there are multiple warrants for your arrest out of Tucson City Court for drug paraphernalia charges, possession of prescription drugs, criminal trespass, and shoplifting. You do have the right to remain silent on all of these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Mr. Bauman, I'm showing a general delivery address for you. Are those still your current circumstances?
No, ma'am, I'm homeless right now. Yes. In fact, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's fine. As that was what I was looking for. So, we're here to talk about your conditions of release today and what I'm going to impose. On the Justice Court matter, I am going to release you, but you're going to be held on the City Court matters. So you'll be released on the Justice Court matter. You have to show up to court in Justice Court for this new drug paraphernalia charge on May 5th at 8:30 in the morning. Ultimately, when you do get released, you are going to have the opportunity to get your paperwork from the jail before you go, and that's going to have the date and time for your appearance at Justice Court. It's important that you go to court. These things do not go away on their own. I'm going to tell you about a resource before we talk about your Tucson City Court cases that's right outside the jail. It's called the Transition Center. When you get released, there's a blue line on the ground. If you just follow that blue line, it's going to take you right to that white trailer where the Transition Center is. I've had an opportunity to talk with some of the navigators at that facility, and they're really amazing. And they have a lot of resources that they can connect you with. That could include housing, substance abuse, mental health, connect you with family, medical, whatever it is that you may need. They're there to help you. So again, I'm going to hold you on the city court charges, but you'll get released at some point on those. And I would encourage you to talk with the people at the Transition Center. They can also assist you with getting to court and getting rides so that you don't have these matters stack up. All right?
I'm not getting released.
Nope, I'm about to hold you. So on the Justice Court case, I am releasing you, and you have to appear there on May 5th. If you're still in custody with the city court cases, then the jail will make sure you appear via video like you're doing today on that case. But on your city court matters, because of the multiple warrants that you have and your failures to appear, I am going to impose a $500 cash bond here today. I am going to appoint the City Public Defender's Office to represent you. You are not to return to the incident location, the victims, or wherever those shopliftings and criminal trespasses occur, and you are not allowed to go back there. Your next hearing at Tucson City Court is going to be a video review hearing on May 2nd at 1:45 in the afternoon. So that'll be your next court date with Tucson City Court on all of these matters, and that's going to be in front of Judge Hale. If you post that $500 cash bond, you're going to get a different court date, and that is May 28th at 9:30 in the morning. And then it would be your responsibility to make sure that you show up at Tucson City Court for your hearing so you can get all these matters resolved. Do you understand the conditions of release that I've imposed today, Mr. Baumann?
Yeah.
And if you fail to appear for these hearings, they're going to issue another warrant for you. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yeah.
All right, you're all done for today.
It's your next court dates. This one's going to change if you're out, and this is going to be okay.
Bravo.
Hi, ma'am. Tell me your name.
Hello, my name is Amanda Bravo.
Ms. Bravo, you are here today on a charge of domestic violence, disorderly conduct, and domestic violence assault. I do believe that we have a victim on the phone with us. Ms. Bravo, are you on the phone, Susana?
Yes, I'm on the phone.
All right. Hello, ma'am. So this is the time to talk about your conditions of release on this charge. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had the opportunity, Ms. Bravo, to review information that pretrial services prepares for the court. It's a report that tells me a little bit about the circumstances in this case. Susanna, I do have information that you did talk with them. And while you have indicated that Amanda's not allowed to return home, you do still want contact with her and you don't object to her release today. Is there anything else you want the court to know?
Yes, I do wanna drop charges.
Okay.
And I do want her to come home. And the only thing I'm asking is for her to go to detox and rehab.
Okay. So, Ms. Bravo, it's not up to the court to dismiss charges. Really, this is going to be up to Pima County Justice Court and the Pima County Attorney's Office. So these charges are not brought by you, they're brought by the state of Arizona. So it's the prosecution agency that is responsible for deciding whether or not charges are going to be dismissed. You can contact the Victim Services Division of the prosecutor's office and they'll be able to assist you and get you in touch with the assigned prosecutor so you can express that input today. But today I'm not able to do anything about dismissing these charges. So Amanda,
Okay,
what?
but she is about to come home.
Okay. So Amanda, what I'm going to do is release you on your promise to appear. If I release you today, will you promise to show up at the court date that I give you in the future?
Yes.
And what I'm going to do is order that you commit no acts of domestic violence. Given the information that your mom just provided, I will allow you to continue to have contact with her, but do not commit any acts of domestic violence. She suggested that detox was something that you might need. When you get released later today, you're going to get copies of your paperwork, and that will have the date and time of your court hearing. When you get released today, I would encourage you to go to the transition center. When you walk out of the jail, there's going to be a blue line on the ground. If you simply follow that blue line, it's going to take you to a white trailer that has the transition center. There's a big blue sign on the side of it. They would be able to assist you with substance abuse services, whether it's detox or just connecting you with the service agency. Not ordering you to do that, but given your mom's comments, I'm letting you know that that would be a way for you to check in and get those resources. Your next court date is going to be May 5th at 10:30 in the morning, and that will be at Pima County Justice Court. You do have to appear at that date and time, and if you fail to appear, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand the conditions of release that I've imposed today, Amanda?
Yes.
And do you understand what's going to happen if you fail to appear for your hearing?
Yes.
All right. Susanna, is there anything else you wanted to tell the court today?
That's all. Just wanted to get detox and rehab.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. You're all done. Thank you for calling in, ma'am. We're finished with the hearing.
Yeah.
Your Honor, Carol Chester is not ready yet. Do you mind if we skip him and start with Martinez?
Okay.
Martinez and Brew Swillus. Over.
Hi, ma'am. Tell me your name.
Reina Martinez?
Ms. Martinez, you are here today on a couple of different matters. This is the time for your initial appearance where we're going to talk about conditions of release. You do have a warrant out of South Tucson City Court for criminal trespass. Looks like that warrant issued back in April of 2023. There is a $500 cash bond request on that warrant. You also have a matter out of Tucson City Court, Pima County. Nope, it is Tucson City Court. Another warrant for your arrest for criminal trespass and shoplifting. And that was from 2022. You do have the right to remain silent on these cases. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Ms. Martinez, do you have a residence here in Tucson?
Yes.
I'm showing an address on Calle Vicam. Is that where you're staying?
Yes.
Are you working right now?
No.
These cases are old. If I release you today, will you promise to show up both in South Tucson and Tucson City Court on the court dates I give you? Because you have to get these resolved. They're not going to go away.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I am going to release you then on the South Tucson case, despite that warrant amount. You have to appear on May 7th at 10 o'clock in the morning at South Tucson City Court. When you get released later today, you're going to have an address and the court date. I think the attorney sitting next to you, Mr. Marsh, may also be writing it down for your convenience, and he'll give you a card. But it'll have the South Tucson City Court address, phone number, and your court date. So you need to make sure you get that paperwork when you leave the jail today. That is a criminal trespass charge, so you are not allowed to return to the incident location or have any contact with the victims there.
Okay.
Do you understand your conditions of release for the South Tucson case?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you don't show up on May 7th, they're going to issue another warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that consequence?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now let's talk about your Tucson City Court case. I'm going to release you on that one as well. It's going to be a separate date for you to appear. again, that is also a criminal trespass and shoplifting. So do not go back to the incident location or have any contact with the victims that are there. Your next court date is going to be May 30th at Tucson City Court, and that's at 9:30 in the morning, and that's going to be in front of Judge Mayhew. Same thing, when you get released, you're going to get your paperwork for that court date as well, and it'll have all the information on it. And if you don't show up, Tucson City Court is also going to issue another warrant for your arrest. Do you understand all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Make sure you show up for your court hearings, Ms. Martinez. You're all done. You're all done for today.
All right, thank you.
Please see right here.
Hi, tell me your name.
Yes, Carol.
All right, Mr. Carroll, you are here on several different matters today. There's some out of Tucson City Court we're going to talk about in a minute. The first two cases we're going to talk about are out of Pima County Justice Court. There is a warrant for your arrest for disorderly conduct from March of this year. There's a $250 warrant amount listed on that case.
Yeah, I got
Hang on.
the place you live now, I don't speak that case off.
Good. Hang on.
That's what the machines.
I have a phone too.
Okay. We're going to talk about all that in just a second, Mr. Carroll.
Okay.
Looks like we also have a shoplifting charge as well.
Shopping? No. The same charges, man. I was out there good.
Hang on, Mr. Carroll. I'm trying to get through all of your paperwork, so give me just a second. Fernando? This is... Okay. All right, Mr. Carroll. So it looks like you were arrested for the criminal trespass charge.
Oh.
I don't have any information specifically on that one. So here's what's going to happen. On that case, I am releasing you. Where the criminal trespass occurred, don't go back there at all and don't have any contacts with that victim. Your next hearing on that case is going to be May 5th at 8:30 in the morning. You do have to appear at that date and time, and if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Right. On the other matter, that's the warrant out of Justice Court that's requesting a $250 bond amount. Sounds like you're settled now. If I release you on that case as well, Mr. Carroll, will you promise to show up at that May 5th court date and get these all taken care of? All right. Okay. Okay. I'm going to release you on that other case as well for Justice Court. Same thing. Don't go to where the disorderly conduct happened and don't have any contact with that victim. You're going to get the same court date, May 5th at 8:30 at Justice Court. You show up and you'll be able to get both of those cases taken care of. All right?
Yeah.
Now we have to talk about your city court cases.
The what?
Tucson City Court cases. You do. So it looks like you have a warrant for criminal trespass and paraphernalia. Failing to comply with court orders in that case. Looks like you were in front of Judge Blue on that one.
Uh-huh.
I'm just looking at some paperwork.
Oh, I didn't know that. How was that?
All right, on that one, looks like there's quite a history on that one, Mr. Carroll, and City Court hasn't been able to get a hold of you.
When I had a place to live on the phone, that was a week ago, I had a place to live. Before that, I was homeless.
Okay.
So I did some money out of apartment. So like 4 or 5 days ago, I got an apartment. I was thinking I'd pick up. I have a phone number and everything now. But people can contact me now.
Do you know the actual, what's that West Quail Road? Is that where you're living now?
That's my mom's address.
Okay. Do you still get mail at your mom's address?
Yeah.
And the place where you're living now, Mr. Carroll, do you know the actual street address?
Austin Speedway. Right behind the bicycle plant. On the corner, right behind it.
And are you actually staying in a house or a structure, or are you staying outside?
A house.
You have a house.
3-bedroom house.
You have a house there?
A 3-bedroom house. I got a room with a boarding test.
Okay. All right. Mr. Carroll, I'm going to go ahead and release you and give you a chance to show up at Tucson City Court. So this means that you are going to get released today. But I know Tucson City Court is anxious to see you. You do need to go see Judge Blue. He's been concerned about you, and you have to get these cases taken care of. Do you understand? No, that's Justice Court. This is going to be Tucson City Court on Alameda. So when you get released later today, you're going to get paperwork. And I know Mr. Marsh, the gentleman seated next to you, is writing down the court dates for you.
The red and white building. You know the red and white building? Huh? It's on Alameda. It's a red and white building. Yeah, I don't know. Ooh. No one. You haven't even been boxing right now.
And you said that you had a phone. Do you know what your phone number is?
I don't know my phone. My mom's phone was 83116.
Okay.
Or my cell phone, 9060099.
Did you say 906? What's the last four?
0099.
0099. And that's your cell phone number? Okay. And can you get messages from your dad if someone calls that? Okay. All right, Mr. Carroll, I'm going to give you a chance to get to court. So it's going to be May 27th at 10 o'clock, and that's going to be in front of Judge Blue. You do have to appear at Tucson City Court at that date and time. If you don't, they're going to issue another warrant for you, and you're going to find yourself back in jail where you are now, and the next time you probably won't get released. Do you understand that?
Okay, I understand that.
Okay, so you'll get released today. Make sure you get all your paperwork that has your court dates on it and show up for the court dates that I gave you today, all right?
Okay.
All right, you're all done for today.
So these are two different ordinances. Yes, sir. That's how people know.
Montaño.
I was anyways. I have friends and I got.
Hi, ma'am. Tell me your name.
Still live on Panama.
Antonio, you are here today on charges of domestic violence, disorderly conduct, and domestic violence criminal damage. You do have the right to remain silent on those charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had the opportunity to review some information provided by pretrial services in this case. Tells me a little bit about you and also the circumstances of the offense. I need to log back into a system. Give me just one moment. So if I release you today, Ms. Montano, on your own recognizance, will you promise to show up at a court date that I give you down in Sarita? Is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just didn't hear you and I need to make sure I get that response.
No, that's fine. No, I will.
All right. So I will release you today. It does look like the victims have indicated that you are welcome to return home. So the only order I'm going to enter today is that you not commit any further acts of domestic violence. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Your next court date is going to be May 27th at 8:30 in the morning. That's going to be court. You do have to appear at that date and time or they can issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear for that court hearing?
Yes.
When you get released later today, you're going to get a copy of your appearance order with release conditions. It'll have the date and time of the hearing and also the address and phone number for Sarita Municipal Court. All right? You're all done for today.
Brown.
Hi, tell me your name.
He was Brown.
Mr. Brown, you are here today on Tucson City Court charges involving DV, domestic violence, criminal damage, and disorderly conduct. You do have the right to remain silent on those charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. This is also the time for your arraignment on these two charges. You are presumed innocent. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf. We're here to talk about your conditions of release today and what we're going to do. Had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services in this case. It looks like both you and your partner are in custody for this incident. You don't live together, is that right?
Yes.
All right. And whether or not you want to have contact with Mr. Miller at this time is going to be up to you. He says he's willing to have contact with you. So what I'm going to do today, Mr. Brown, is if you promise to appear at a court date that I give you in the future, I will release you. Will you promise to do that?
Yes.
So you are going to be released on your promise to appear. The order is that you commit no further acts of domestic violence. Your next court date is going to be May 20th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's going to be in front of Judge Million at Tucson City Court. When you get released later today, you're going to get a copy of your paperwork. It'll have the date and time for your appearance and also the address and phone number for Tucson City Court. If you fail to appear at that hearing, a warrant could issue for your arrest. They could also go forward in your absence with that hearing and set future hearings in your absence, including a trial. If you get convicted at trial and can't be sentenced within 90 days of that conviction, they could also, or you could also give up your right to a direct appeal. Do you understand all of those consequences if you fail to appear for your hearing?
Yes.
All right, you're all done for today, Mr. Brown.
Gonzalez.
Hi, tell me your name.
Alicia Gonzalez.
Ms. Gonzalez, you are here today on a charge of being in parks after they are closed. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. This is a matter in Tucson City Court. We're going to talk about your conditions of release today. This is also the time for your arraignment. You are presumed innocent. I'm going to enter a not guilty plea on your behalf for this charge. If I release you today, Ms. Gonzalez, will you promise to appear at a court date that I give you in the future?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You need to appear on June 2nd at 2:00 in the afternoon, and that's going to be in front of Judge Verena at Tucson City Court. Do not return to the incident location. Whatever park that you were at, you're not allowed to go back there. Do you understand those conditions of release?
Well,
If you fail to appear for your hearing on June 2nd, Tucson City Court could issue a warrant for your arrest. They could also go forward with that hearing in your absence and set future hearings, including a trial in your absence. If you're convicted at a trial and can't be sentenced within 90 days, you'll also lose your right to a direct appeal. Do you understand all those consequences if you fail to appear for your hearing?
yes, ma'am.
All right, you're all done for today.
Okay, so that means I'll be released today on district. Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much. Thank you, Judge.
You can mark us here at the next, Your Honor, doesn't wish to make a statement, just relay that she wishes.
Okay.
Rodriguez.
Thank you.
The license?
Yes.
Hi, tell me your name.
Daniel Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez, you are here today for charges out of Tucson City Court for domestic violence assault and domestic violence disorderly conduct. The victim in this case, who I believe is your wife, is present in the courtroom today. You do have the right to remain silent on these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. This is also the time for your arraignment on these charges. You are presumed innocent. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf. This is the time for us to talk about your conditions of release. If I release you today, will you promise that you'll show up at a court date that I give you in the future?
Yes, I will.
All right, I am going to release you on your promise to appear. I am going to order that you not return to the incident location. I believe this actually happened at a hotel, so you're not going to be welcome to return there. Your wife has indicated that she welcomes further contact with you, so you'll be allowed to go home and have contact with her. The order the court is going to enter today is that you are not to commit any acts of domestic violence. Do you understand those conditions of your release?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, your next court date is going to be May 20th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That will be in front of Judge Millian at Tucson City Court. When you get released today, you will get a copy of the paperwork. It'll be the appearance order with release conditions, and it'll have that date and time on it, as well as the address and phone number for Tucson City Court. If you fail to appear for that hearing, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. They could also go forward with that hearing in your absence and set future hearings, including a trial in your absence. If you're convicted and can't be sentenced within 90 days, you could also lose your right to a direct appeal. Do you understand all of those consequences for failing to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're all done for today. Thank you for being here, ma'am.
Very important here. It's okay. So you're going to be released today. That's your next court date. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, Susan?
Hey, tell me your name.
This is Velarde.
Mr. Velarde, you were here today on charges of criminal damage, disorderly conduct, and drug paraphernalia. The criminal damage and disorderly conduct are domestic violence offenses. These are misdemeanors out of Tucson City Court. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had the opportunity to review some information prepared by pretrial services. It tells me a little bit about you and the circumstances of this offense. If I release you today, Mr. Velarde, you are not going to be allowed to have any contact with Miss Soto. You're not going to be allowed to return to the incident location or go anywhere near where she is living or working. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have someplace else that you can reside that is not with her?
Yes.
Do you have anything at her residence that you need to go pick up? Wallet, keys, things you can't live without? All right. And if I release you today, will you promise to show up at the next court date that I give you?
Yes.
All right. I am going to release you today Your next court date is going to be May 20th at 1:30 in the afternoon, and that's going to be in front of Judge Million at Tucson City Court. Going to be consolidated, it says, with some other matters. I just don't have information on those today. Again, you are not to have any contact with Rosa Soto at all. You are not to go anywhere near where she is living or working or return to the incident location. You're also not allowed to commit any further acts of domestic violence. Do you understand all of those conditions of release?
Yes, ma'am.
This is the time for your arraignment on those charges as well. You are presumed innocent. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf. If you do fail to appear for your hearing, they will issue a warrant for your arrest. In addition to that warrant, they could go forward in your absence with that hearing and set future hearings in your absence, including a trial. If you get convicted at trial and can't be sentenced within 90 days, you could also lose your right to a direct appeal. Do you understand all those consequences for failing to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're all done for today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Hi, tell me your name.
Anthony Miller.
You are here today on charges of criminal damage and disorderly conduct. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. These are misdemeanor offenses. We're here to talk about your conditions of release today. If I release you, will you promise to show up at a court date that I give you in the future?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I am going to release you on your promise to appear. This is the time for your arraignment as well on these charges. You are presumed innocent. I am going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf for these charges. I note that you weren't sure whether or not you wanted to have any contact with Mr. Brown. Do you want me to? Go ahead. What'd you say?
I said yes, I would.
You want contact? Okay. So the two of you can have contact, but you're not allowed to commit any acts of domestic violence. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so that's going to be the order that I will enter today. Your next court date is May 20th at 1:30, and that's going to be in front of Judge Million. You are required to appear at that court date. If you fail to appear, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. They could also go forward with that hearing in your absence. If they go forward with that hearing in your absence and you're convicted at a trial, which they could also set in your absence, if you get convicted and can't be sentenced within 90 days, you're going to lose your right to a direct appeal. Do you understand all of those consequences if you don't show up for court on May 20th?
Yes.
All right, you're all done for today.
Is it, I have a question. Is it at Tucson or Memphis? I don't live here.
It's Tucson City Courts.
Okay.
So you're going to have to appear for your next court date. Are you going to, you'll have to stick around for that or make arrangements with Tucson City Court if you want to go back to Memphis.
Okay.
Okay, so you can't, don't take off from here. You'll get released today. If you want to go to Tucson City Court and say, hey, I want to return to Memphis, you can probably get a court date sooner than that. Contact them, but they're going to expect you to be here on May 20th. And I can't say that it's fine for you to return to Memphis if you're not going to be here for that hearing. Do you understand?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do you have any other questions? Okay, you're all done for today.
Hearing, and then just explain your situation. I know you gotta be close. Make sure everybody.
One.
see you over there. Yes.
Hi, tell me your name.
Hi, my name is Manuel Hernandez.
Mr. Hernandez, you are here on a charge of possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney. This is a felony offense. I am going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you. Oops, never mind. I just looked at the state's recommendation. It looks like they're going to dismiss this matter without prejudice. So on the felony case, the matter is going to be dismissed. We do have a couple of other matters that we have to talk about that you haven't taken care of.
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Actually, it looks like several matters you haven't taken care of.
Yeah, I actually went to court last week on the 17th, I believe. Or
Which court did you go to?
it was justice. I called over the phone.
Okay. I don't think she's seen the justice court. It looks like city court stuff.
No, we have several different things. So, Mr. Hernandez, we're going to talk about something out of Nogales. It looks like there's a warrant out of Nogales City Court for your failing to appear, not resolve something there. There is something in Justice Court, and then you also have multiple matters in City Court. So the bottom line is you don't seem aware of things. So if I release you today, this is going to be the chance that you get to actually show up to all your court hearings. If you don't, they're going to keep issuing warrants for you. You're going to find yourself back there and you're not going to get released.
I know, Your Honor. So,
I don't want to, listen, I don't want to hear any excuses. The only thing I need you to tell me today is that you promise you're going to show up at your court dates and I'll release you.
I promise. I swear to God.
All right. So your Nogales Municipal Court matter, I'm going to release you on that. It's for a traffic offense. You have to appear on May 5th at 8:30. The gentleman seated next to you is an attorney. He is going to write down all of these dates for you. You're going to get several of them today. But you do have to appear May 5th at 8:30 at Nogales Municipal Court. When you get released today, you're going to get copies of several pieces of paper, and it's going to have all your court dates along with addresses and stuff for where it is that you need to appear. On your Justice Court matter, it also looks like a traffic matter. I am going to release you on that one as well. Hang on a second. Can we get a different date for him? Because it's also May 5th at 8:30 and he can't be here and in Nogales on that date. All right. So the original court date that you were given for Justice Court was going to be May 5th, and I don't want that to conflict with your Nogales. So your next court date in Justice Court, and this is on a driving on a suspended license. Do not drive without a valid license. That is your condition of release in that case. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And your next court date at Justice Court is going to be May 9th at 8:30 in the morning. Again, you have to appear at that date and time. If you don't, they're going to issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And then finally, in the Tucson City Court matters, you're here for warrants for shoplifting and criminal trespass. You are not to have any contact with the victims and don't return to the incident locations in those offenses. And it looks like those are 3 separate cases where you haven't been going to court. So last chance, you're going to have to appear in front of Judge Cranshaw on May 28th at 2:30. I will release you on that as well. So 3 separate court dates, you need to show up. And if you think that these are just misdemeanors and you don't have to take care of them, that's the wrong way to think about this. You need to get these matters resolved. The more you don't take care of them, the more fines build up, the more consequences you're going to have. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand. I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's just that, like, I had dates mixed up and stuff. But
well, you're going to get court dates. Mr. Marsh wrote them all down for you. And when you get released today, you're going to get 3 separate pieces of paper, one for each court that you need to be at. Put those in a safe place and make sure you show up so you can get these things taken care of. All right?
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
All done for today.
So balance is first, May 5th, then Justice Court, May 9th, and then City Court is asked to engage in the City Court's the only one in the afternoon, the other one's back in the afternoon. Okay? All
right, so they dropped the arguments.
No, so nothing was so the felony there. Yeah, that's the only matters. Yeah, but the City Court staff, the Dallas staff, the Justice Court staff, that's all still action.
All right, so how much total did I have? Like
if you go,
I got released on all of them?
You released them all. Yeah, I have a better idea, but we can take care of it. Just gotta go to court. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, tell me your name.
Eric Negochea?
Mr. Negochea, you are here today on multiple cases and charges. First one we're going to talk about are felony offenses for a failure to provide identification and also, hang on, also drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent on all of these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on those matters. I'm going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you, and you do have an attorney seated with you today for these proceedings. We're here to talk about your conditions of release. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. Tells me a little bit about you and your circumstances, as well as the nature of the offense. Also, I've reviewed the state's recommendation. They are requesting a $2,500 cash or secured bond. We also are going to have to talk about Tucson City Court warrants that you have failed to appear for. Ms. Orozco, I am inclined to impose the $2,500, particularly in light of the failures to appear. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, thank you.
Mr. Marsh?
Only to say, Judge, that he did have an ID card, it looks like, from September of 2024 that does list the address where he was staying. It also appears that that address was very close to where he was arrested. Beyond that, we'll defer to the court.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, I'm going to impose a bond today of $2,500. That's going to be cash or secured. If you post that bond, then you're going to be released to pretrial services. You do have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms while this is going on. I'm sure your attorney will share the information that Mr. Marsh just shared with me with the county attorney's office. I don't know ultimately what will happen going forward, but these are your conditions as of today. Your next hearing in that case is going to be May 5th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's a preliminary hearing. That hearing may or may not occur. If you post bond, it's going to be important that you stay in contact with your attorney so that you don't miss any future court dates, because if you fail to appear for court dates, they're going to issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand all of those conditions of release? Mr. Necochea, do you understand the conditions of release I've just imposed today? I didn't hear you.
I don't understand anything. No. So charges are just ridiculous in itself. I happened to be at.
Just have one moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
I think we're on the same page now, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Necochea, I'm not asking you whether or not you like what's going on here. Just do you understand the conditions that I've imposed today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if you fail to appear at your next court hearing, do you understand that they could issue a warrant for your arrest?
Correct.
And then we need to talk about your Tucson City Court cases as well. So those are for theft, disorderly conduct, criminal trespass, and drug paraphernalia. They're two separate warrants out of city court that you failed to appear for. I am going to impose a $100 cash or secure bond on those two and appoint the city public defender's office to represent you. Your next hearing in that case is going to be a review hearing on May 2nd. If you're still in custody, you'll appear via video, much like you're doing here today. If you post this bond and also the felony bond, then you're going to have to appear at Tucson City Court on May 28th at 9 o'clock in the morning so that you can get these matters resolved. Your case is assigned to Judge Hale. Wherever the shopliftings and criminal trespasses occurred, don't go back there. That's where the victims are, and you can't return to those locations. Do you understand your conditions of release on the Tucson City Court case?
Yes, ma'am.
You're all done for today, Mr. Necochea.
So this is your court date. It's all legal. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the thing is, she's going to put it on. So, I was like, able to help you out now, okay?
Hi, tell me your name.
We're Alpha Pro.
Mr. Crow, you were here today on charges of aggravated assault on a minor, and child abuse. You do have the right to remain silent on these felony offenses. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. This hearing is to talk about your conditions of release. Had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. That agency prepares a report that tells me a little bit about you and the circumstances of the offense. Also had an opportunity to review the state's recommendation. Ms. Orozco, I see that the state is asking for a $10,000 bond. Did you want to be heard further?
That is based on the juvenile being placed in a chokehold and the age difference between the two.
Mr. Marsh.
Thank you, Your Honor. I anticipate the court's inclined to impose a bond given what I've seen of the interim complaint, and I'm also assuming that's where the county attorney's recommendation is coming from. I would just like to add that Mr. Pro is employed full-time. He's been a lifelong Tucson resident. I'm also showing that his only prior is from a decade ago. So for those reasons, I think that if the court is inclined to impose a bond, we'd ask for something smaller in the range of $2,000. Thank you.
I am going to impose a bond today of $10,000. That's going to be a cash or secured bond, Mr. Pro. If you post that bond, then you're going to be released to pretrial services. You have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol, obviously no illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms or weapons while this case is going on. If you do have any firearms in your possession, you will need to surrender those to a law enforcement agency. Your attorney with the public defender's office can assist you with that. You are not going to be allowed to have any contact with the victims in this case, and you're not allowed to return to the incident location or anywhere near where the victims are living. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes.
Do you have somewhere else that you can reside that is not with the victims in this case?
Yes.
All right. Your next court date is going to be May 5th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're expected to show up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant could be issued for your arrest. If you post bond and get released, Mr. Pro, it's important you stay in contact with your attorney. That's how you'll know if any court dates change. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes.
You're all done for today.
That's yours today. Okay.
O'Mara?
Pima?
Mr. Roscoe, I'm looking at your bond request on the next case. I don't know if you're aware that Mr. Romero does have 2 interim complaints. One is for first-degree murder.
Yes, Your Honor, I did submit 2. I called them 12 and 12A. I can resubmit if it didn't go through.
Hang on. Oh, there's the other one. Nope, I have them both. I just missed it. Okay, thank you. Hi, tell me your name.
Danny Romero, Jr.
Mr. Romero, you are here on several different felony charges today, first-degree murder and burglary on one of the interim complaints. The other interim complaint is charges of narcotic drug violation, prohibited possessor, being in possession of a firearm while you're prohibited, and also drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent on all of those charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on these cases. I'm going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. That report tells me a little bit about you and the circumstances of the offense. It also tells me, sir, that you have a hold from the Department of Corrections. So based on your community supervision release with them, they have placed a hold on you. So regardless of what I do here today on these 2 interim complaints and the 2 separate bonds that we're going to set, you're going to be held until that DOC matter gets resolved. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I have had the opportunity to review the state's recommendation as to conditions of release. They're asking for a $1 million bond on the homicide case. Looks like they're asking for $5,000 on the other case. Mr. Roscoe, I am inclined to impose a $1 million bond. I'm inclined to impose a higher bond on the second interim. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, Your Honor, other than the recommendation and what the court has said.
All right, Mr. Marsh.
Ms. Priestley, Judge, I think a bond is appropriate in this case. I just would like the court to consider that in the statement of probable cause, there are a lot of these phone connections, and it does seem like perhaps an accomplice does identify somebody who is not Mr. Romero as the person who could have been responsible for the shooting. We'll defer to the court on the bond amount. Thank you.
I am going to impose a $1 million cash or secured bond on the interim reflecting the homicide and the burglary case. For some reason you post that bond, Mr. Romero, you would be released to the custody of pretrial services. You'd have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms or weapons. You are not to have any contact with the victim's family in that case, and you're not allowed to return to the incident location. Do not go to the victims of the burglary either. Do you understand all those conditions of release?
Yep.
On the other interim complaint, the prohibited possessor and drug charges, I am going to impose a $10,000 cash or secure bond on that case as well. It is going to be a consecutive bond to the homicide case. If you do post it, you'll be released to pretrial services, and that is going to require the same exact conditions as your previous case. Do you understand that?
Yep.
Your hearings on these matters are going to be May 5th at 1:30. Those are going to be preliminary hearings, both on the same date. You are required to appear at all future hearings, and if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. If you remain in custody, the jail will make sure to transport you to your hearings, or you'll appear via video, much like you're doing here today. If you do post bond and get released, it is your responsibility to appear, or that warrant will issue. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear, Mr. Romero?
Yep.
All right. You're all done for today.
Where's your certificate?
Give them all to me, or whatever was the easiest for you. That was 102, sorry. Hi, tell me your name.
Daniel David Witt.
Hi, Mr. Witt. You are here on multiple matters out of Tucson City Court. They're warrants for failing to appear for charges of criminal trespass, theft, shoplifting, and there are multiple counts of those. You do have the right to remain silent on those charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Looks like we have multiple matters out of Tucson City Court that you failed to appear for. We're going to talk today about your conditions of release. I am going to impose a bond today, Mr. Witt. It's going to be a $500 cash bond on all of these matters. If you post that bond, you're not to have any contact with the victims or return to any of the incident locations where the shopliftings and criminal trespasses occurred. I am going to appoint the City Public Defender's Office to represent you today. Your next court date is going to be a video review hearing on May 1st at 1:45. That's going to be in front of Judge Blue. You'll likely appear via video in front of Judge Blue, much like you're doing today. If for some reason you post your bond and get released, you also have to make sure you show up in City Court on May 1st at 1:45 to see Judge Blue. So one court date, whether you're in or out of custody. If you fail to appear for your court date, Mr. Witt, they could issue another warrant for you. Do you understand that you're going to be held today unless you post that bond?
I guess.
Okay. And do you understand what happens if you don't show up for court, that they're going to issue a warrant for you?
All
right.
My case is posted by Merlin.
Officer Merlin. He ate white people.
She's not going to be on the board. Okay.
All right, Mr. Witt, you're going to be all done for today.
Is this your next court?
I can't feel good bonds. I don't eat this crap.
Hi, sir. Tell me your name.
Tony Brannon?
Is your middle name Lafayette?
Yes.
Mr. Brannon, you are here today on charges of aggravated robbery and aggravated assault, temporary but substantial injury. These are felony offenses. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I'm going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you today, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing. I've had an opportunity to review some information provided by pretrial services on this case. They prepare a report that tells me a little bit about you as well as the circumstances of the offense. In reviewing that report, it tells me that you do have a hold from the Arizona Department of Corrections for a parole violation warrant. So regardless of what I do here today on this case, you're going to be held until that matter can be resolved. I have had an opportunity to review the state's recommendation. It looks like they're asking for a $25,000 cash or secured bond. That is my inclination today. Ms. Orozco, do you need to be heard further?
Just that it's based on the prior convictions that are very similar and an elderly victim.
Understood. Mr. Marsh.
We'll defer to the court, Judge.
All right. I am going to impose a $25,000 cash or secured bond today, Mr. Brannon. If you do post that bond and get your DOC matter resolved, then you'd be released to pretrial services. You're ordered to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You can't have any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms while the case is going on. You are not to have any contact with the victim in this case, and you're not allowed to return to the incident location. Do you understand all of those conditions of release?
Yes, Your Honor.
And your next court date is going to be May 5th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you are expected to show up at all future court dates, and if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. If you're in custody, the jail will make sure you appear for your next hearing, likely via video, much like you're doing here today, or you'll be transported. But if you do post bond, get your DOC matter resolved, you need to stay in contact with your attorney so you don't miss court. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear for your hearing?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're all done for today, Mr. Brannon.
Thanks. It's such an export team. You're in charge of the call. You'll see if they get confidence. He's not. It'll be a long time.
Oakland?
Please tell me your name.
GyroLamb Copeland Jr.
Mr. Copeland, you were here today on felony charge of organized retail theft. You do have the right to remain silent on this charge. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I am going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had the opportunity to review some information provided by pretrial services. It does tell me that you have a warrant out of Pima County Superior Court for failing to appear for a pretrial conference in CR 2024-1306. So regardless of what I do on this case today, you're going to be held on that matter. We also have warrants out of Tucson City Court that we're going to need to talk about today. I have had a chance to review the state's recommendation. As to the organized retail theft charge, they are asking for a $2,500 bond. The court's inclined to impose a $5,000 bond given the failures to appear and the multiple matters going on. Ms. Orozco, did you need to be heard further?
No, just briefly, Your Honor. I neglected to check the boxes for no contact with the victim and not possess a firearm. I will be submitting an amended recommendation.
You don't need to do that. I'll automatically include that. I mean, if you want to, that's fine, Ms. Orozco, but that's something that will be automatically put in there, or I will do it.
Thank you, Your Honor. I apologize for that.
No problem. Mr. Marsh?
Thank you, Your Honor. We would agree with the state's recommendation that a $2,500 bond is appropriate to cover both the instant felony matter as well as the city court matters. I would just like to note for the court's attention that the interim complaint makes clear that what Mr. Copeland is accused to have stolen is a baby monitor and toys. I don't know Mr. Copeland's circumstances, but I'm hopeful that the court will look at the worst version of these events, not as somebody who is, terrorizing these stores by taking things of extreme value. It looks like he was maybe taking things for a child. For those reasons, Judge, we believe that a lower bond is warranted in this matter. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Copeland, I am going to impose a $2,500 cash or secured bond on your case, and that's just for that felony case, this one with the organized retail theft. If you post that bond, you'll be released to pretrial services. You do have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms. You're also not allowed to return to the incident location, so don't go back to that target on INA at all for any reason. They're the victims and you can't have contact with them. Do you understand all those conditions of release in your felony case?
Yes.
It is going to be May 5th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's a preliminary hearing. That hearing may or may not occur, but you're expected to show up at all future hearings, and if you fail to appear, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, sir.
All right, now we need to talk about your Tucson City Court cases. You have warrants for criminal trespass and theft, and then another warrant for theft and drug paraphernalia. I am going to appoint the City Public Defender's Office to represent you today. I'm going to release you on that matter. So that means if you get your felony matters resolved, this is not going to be what's going to be holding you. Your next hearing is going to be what they refer to as a non-transport review hearing, and that's going to occur on June 20th at 9 a.m., and that will be in front of Judge Cranshaw at Tucson City Court. If you are out of custody on all these other matters, you need to make sure that you show up at Tucson City Court at that date and time. If you are still in custody, then the jail will make sure that you appear via video. Do not have any contact with the victims and don't return to the incident locations in your city court matters either. Do you understand those conditions of release in your city court case, Mr. Copeland? And that they can issue more warrants if you don't show up. Do you understand that as well? All right, you're all done. Hi, tell me your name.
James Ingrist.
Mr. Grist, you are here on felony charges involving burglary, dangerous drug possession, intent to facilitate shoplifting, and organized retail theft. Looks like there's also a criminal trespass and false reporting to law enforcement. You do have the right to remain silent on these charges. Anything you say, time will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on this matter. I am going to appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. That agency prepares a report for the court that tells me a little bit about you as well as the circumstances of the offense. I've also had a chance to review the state's recommendation. It does look like you are on probation in this matter. Jail, are we showing a probation hold yet?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Roscoe, I do see that you asked for a $2,500 bond on this case. I will tell the parties, given the information in the interim in this case, the nature of the offenses and the fact that he is on probation currently, I'm inclined to impose a $10,000 cash or secured bond. Mr. Roscoe, did you want to be heard further?
Yes, Your Honor. I was conflicted on this matter because of the nature of the charges, but there is a significant criminal history and it is very similar to the acts alleged here. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Marsh?
Thank you, Your Honor. Only thing to add is that the history here does seem to be theft, and maybe underlying that is drug related. We'll defer to the court on a bond amount.
I am going to impose a bond today, Mr. Grist, of $10,000. That's going to be a cash or secured bond. If you post that bond, then you'll be released to pretrial services. You do have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or have any illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms while this case is going on. You are not allowed to have any contact with the victims in this case. Do not return to the Walmarts. You've been trespassed there many, many, many times, and you don't seem to like to abide by that order. I'm going to impose another order today that says you're not allowed to return to the incident location for any reason at all. Do you understand all of those conditions of release?
Oh.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Your next court date is going to be May 5th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're expected to show up at all future hearings. And if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand those consequences for failing to appear?
Yeah.
If you do postpone and get released, Mr. Grist, you do need to contact your assigned probation officer the very next day of your release from custody. Do you understand that as well?
Yeah.
All right, you're all done.
Gonzalez?
Thank you. Hi, sir. Tell me your name.
Zachary Gonzalez.
Mr. Gonzalez, you are here today on charges of domestic violence, endangerment, multiple counts, and domestic violence disorderly conduct. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had the opportunity to review some information provided by pretrial services that tells me a little bit about you as well as the circumstances of the offense. I've also had an opportunity to review the state's recommendation on this case. It looks like you're asking for release to pretrial, Ms. Orozco.
Yes, Your Honor. Based on his age and lack of any criminal history in the pretrial services, we would recommend pretrial services, but no contact with the victim. It did appear in the probable cause statement that she did want contact, but that was the nature of the concern.
Mr. Marsh?
Thank you, Your Honor. We agree that pretrial release is appropriate for this case. I would add that beyond what's in the interim, it does look like pretrial services had some contact with Miss English as well, and that pretrial services was reporting that Miss English says that Mr. Gonzalez is welcome to return home, that nobody sustained any injuries. So we would ask the court to allow contact between Mr. Gonzalez and Miss English, as well as the children in this case. But I think the highlight is that we agree that pretrial release is appropriate. Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez, I'll release you to pretrial services today. You're going to have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. Don't drive without a valid license, and you can't have any firearms while this case is going on. I understand that Miss English is willing to have contact with you. I'm going to enter an order today that you are not to have any unsupervised contact with your children. So that means that there must be another adult with you at all times when you're in contact with your children. I don't know whether or not DCS is going to open a case on this, so you may have different orders that come out of juvenile court that you're going to have to abide by. So whatever those DCS conditions are, you'll be expected to follow those, but you are not going to have any unsupervised contact with your kids. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Mr. Roscoe, is there anything else you want to add on that?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, your next court date in this case is going to be May 14th. That's going to be a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be expected to show up at all future hearings. If you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Because you're going to be out of custody, Mr. Gonzalez, it's going to be very important that you stay in contact with your attorney so that you don't miss any future hearings. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
All right, you're all done for today.
Get released. Transporting right up east. Everything okay?
Johnson?
Thanks. LAIS.
Hi, tell me your name.
Michael Reyes.
Mr. Reyes, you are here today on a charge of aggravated assault on a peace officer. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on this matter. It is a class 5 felony. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. That tells me a little bit about you as well as the circumstances of the offense. I've also had a chance to review the state's recommendation. They're asking for a $2,500 bond in this case. Mr. Roscoe, I'm inclined to release him to pretrial services. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Your Honor, that recommendation was based on the fact that he has an aggravated assault conviction from 2010. I do acknowledge it is very old and the circumstances of this case are unique.
Mr. Marsh?
We agree with the court's inclination that pretrial services release is appropriate. That 2010 prior, Michael was released. He showed up to court. He was placed on probation, and probation was terminated successfully. I would also note that I think both pretrial and the interim complaint reflect that there might be some behavioral health concerns that are really driving this behavior. So for those reasons, we believe pretrial release is appropriate.
So I am going to release you today to the custody of pretrial services. What that means is that you have to stay in contact with that agency. When you leave the jail today, they should have already talked to you before, but you want to make sure that you check in with them when you leave. Excuse me. You're going to be ordered to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you cannot have any firearms while this case is going on. If you own firearms, you do have to surrender those to law enforcement while this case is going on. You can talk with your attorney about that. Also, not having any contact with the victim in this case. Your next hearing is going to be May 14th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're expected to show up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. Because you're going to be out of custody, it's important that you stay in contact with your attorney so that you know if there are any changes in your court dates. Do you understand all of the conditions of release that I've imposed today?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear for your hearing?
Yes, Your Honor.
When you do get released today, I do know there is a note of potentially needing some services. When you get released, there is a transition center that is a white trailer outside the jail with a big blue sign. If you follow the blue line on the ground, you can get to that trailer. They will be able to assist you if there are any services that you need. I would encourage you to go by there if that's something that you would like to do. It's not an order. It's just letting you know that those resources are available if you'd like to stop by there and talk with someone, all right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's done for today.
Okay, once you get released from all the sharpness, and then we are follow that line. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Wilson?
Hi, tell me your name.
Nielsen.
Mr. Nielsen, you're here on charges of burglary in the 3rd degree and criminal damage. You do have the right to remain silent on these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had the opportunity to review some information provided by pretrial services. That report tells me a little bit about you as well as the circumstances of the offense. I've also had an opportunity to review the state's recommendation as to their conditions of release. Looks like they do believe pretrial services is an appropriate release for you. That is the court's inclination. Mr. Roscoe, did you need to be heard further?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Marsh?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Nielsen, you're going to be released from jail today, and you're going to have to stay in contact with pretrial services. That is an agency that works with the court. They're going to require you to check in at periodic intervals. You're going to need to make sure that you do that. You'll be ordered to participate in any monitoring or treatment that they determine is appropriate. You are not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs while this case is going on, and you can't have any firearms while this case is going on. You are also not allowed to return to the incident location. The victims are there and you cannot have any contact with them. So do not go back there. Do you understand all those conditions of release?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your next court date is going to be May 14th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you are expected to show up at all future hearings. And if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Because you're going to be out of custody, it'll be important that you stay in contact with your public defender so they can let you know if any dates change. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you're all done for today.
When you lose your first college pick, to disagree.
Thank you.
Any rush?
Hi, tell me your name.
Rush.
Mr. Rush, you were here today on a couple of different matters. It looks like there's a DUI case out of Justice Court we're going to talk about. And you're also here on felony charges involving resisting arrest, possession of dangerous drug, misconduct involving weapons, and drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent on all of these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I am going to appoint the public defender's office. And you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. It looks like you're in steps currently.
I want to finish that.
Okay. So
I was almost done with it.
when you say almost done, who's your provider?
My provider is La Frontera.
La Frontera? When was the last time you went to La Frontera?
Just Monday.
Okay. Have you been staying in contact with pretrial services like you're supposed to?
Yes, ma'am.
Give me just a minute. So, Mr. Roscoe, I do note that the state is asking for a $2,500 bond. Given his participation in steps, I would be inclined to release him to pretrial to allow him to continue to participate in that with conditions involving no guns. Did you want to be heard further?
I completely understand, Your Honor. My concern was the weapon, but it does appear that his criminal history is largely just drug related.
Mr. Marsh, did you want to be heard?
I would just add, Your Honor, he's 26 years old. The only history is drugs, and the interim complaint says that it was 14 pills. I I understand that the firearm is concerning, but that's all. If the court's inclined to release him to pretrial services, I think another shot to resolve the steps cases and then deal with this as well. If he's been in contact with pretrial, I think that's the way to go. Thank you.
So, Mr. Rush, I am going to release you to pretrial today so that you have the opportunity. I don't know what the state's going to do. They're the ones that get to decide whether or not you get to stay in the STEPS program in light of these new charges. As Mr. Roscoe pointed out, that firearm is very concerning. So I am going to release you today, and you are not allowed to have any firearms or weapons at all. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. And just like your other cases, you have to participate in any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial. You need to be staying in contact with pretrial on a regular basis. Who have you been contacting at pretrial?
I'm not sure her name, but I've been contacting every week.
Courtney sound familiar?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So Courtney's great, and she will continue to help you through this, but you really need to make sure that you're continuing to make those efforts, Mr. Rush. You have a real opportunity with that STEPS program to get treatment so you don't keep finding yourself back here.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You do need to contact pretrial again when you get released on this felony case. Your next court date for this is going to be May 14th at 1:30. That's your preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you need to make sure that you show up at all future hearings, so stay in contact with your public defender. We need to talk about the DUI case as well. I am going to release you on your promise to appear on that case. It looks like your next court date is going to be June 6th, so you're going to have a little bit of time on that one. Don't forget that that hearing is out there. That's going to be at 10 o'clock at Pima County Justice Court. You do have to appear at that date and time. If you don't, they're going to issue another warrant for you. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do not drive without a valid license. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're all done for today, Mr. Rush.
Thank you.
First call, that's to pretrial services with reporting in Colorado, right?
Your Honor, can we move Mr. Stewart to the bottom of the list?
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dennis?
Hi, tell me your name.
This is right.
Mr. Dizri, you are here today on a few different matters. The first is felony charges involving possession of narcotics and possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent on those charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney. I am going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. We're going to talk about your conditions of release. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. Tells me a little bit about you as well as the circumstances of the offense. I do note that you have a probation hold. Looks like you were on probation and they have now placed a hold on you. So regardless of what we do here today on this new case, you are not going to be released until that probation matter can be addressed. Do you understand that? All right. So in light of that, I see that the state's recommendation is a 25, or actually, I guess you requested release to pretrial. I'm inclined to impose a $1,000 cash or secured bond on this matter in light of the probation hold. I do see that steps may be an option on this case, so I will also include the steps date and we'll keep the preliminary hearing date of May 5th. Does either counsel need to be heard further?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right. So, sir, because of that probation hold on this new case, I'm going to impose a $1,000 cash or secure bond. If you do post that bond, then you'll be released to pretrial services. You do have to participate in any monitoring or treatment that they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or drugs. You can't have any firearms. Those are all conditions that you're going to have while you're on probation as well. So based on the nature of the charges here, you may be eligible to participate in STEPS, and that is a pre-indictment diversion program where if you agree to participate in drug treatment on this new case, If you successfully complete that program and you're eligible to participate, the state would not go forward with these charges. Is that something that you're interested in doing?
Definitely.
All right. So what we're going to do is set a hearing date for that STEPS program for May 1st at 9 a.m. If you're still in custody, then you'll be transported by the jail to Judge Hampson's courtroom. If you post bond or you get out before then you're going to need to show up on your own. That's the 3rd floor of Superior Court. It's important to go to that hearing because that'll be the time that you will find out whether or not you're eligible to participate. In the courtroom will be your attorney, pretrial services, and also community providers that will be able to assist you with setting up those substance abuse treatment services. So please make sure, whatever you're doing, if you're out of custody, you've got to go on May 1st at 9. Your next hearing after that on this case is going to be May 5th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That may or may not occur. So it's really important that you stay in contact with your attorney. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right.
One question. So, so if I release some from probation, I still have to pay $1,000 bond?
Yes. If your probation matter gets settled, you're going to have a $1,000 bond on this case. If you get accepted into STEPS, the likely progression will be your attorney will file a motion to modify with Judge Hampson, asking her to take care of that bond and release you to pretrial services. So this isn't the only opportunity that you have, but you're going to be getting credit for time served on this case with that bond that's imposed. So it doesn't have to stay there forever. A lot of it's going to depend on what your probation officer wants to do and also what your attorney works out with the state and the court with respect to your conditions of release in the future. So potentially on May 1st, when you show up, they could get that taken care of. We do have a couple other cases that we do have to talk about, though. You do have a warrant out of Oro Valley. They're actually requesting a $2,500 cash or secured bond on a shoplifting case. It looks like this is back in 2020.
I've done time on this. I've done a lot of time on this case. This keeps coming back. I don't know how to get rid of this case. What's going on?
Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to impose a $100 cash or secured bond on that case. You're going to be in custody probably at least until May 1st anyway. And so I'm going to set a hearing for you on the Oro Valley case for April 30th. And that's going to be at 10:30. I think that'll be a video hearing so that you can get that Oro Valley case resolved. I am going to appoint an attorney for you on that case. And your attorney will be able to talk with you about that. For Oro Valley, it's Grinkowich? Hang on, I just need to find out who the attorney is for Oro Valley. It's not Green Valley, it's Oro Valley. No, it looks like it's Richard Glenn. All right. I am going to appoint Richard Glenn to represent you on that Oro Valley case. So he will be talking to you probably before that hearing on the 30th. And that will hopefully get that Oro Valley case taken care of. And then you can talk to your attorney about whatever's going on with that one. And now we need to talk about your Tucson City Court case. So I'm going to release you on the city court case. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you on that one. And we're going to set what's called a non-transport review hearing in city court. This is on a warrant for a criminal trespass case. And again, if you get out on these charges, you're going to have to show up on June 20th at 9 a.m. at Tucson City Court in front of Judge Hale. Someone from the city public defender's office should be contacting you about that. So you can talk with them as well. And if you're still in custody for whatever reason by June 20th, then you'll talk with your attorney. They'll either have you appear via video or figure out what they're going to do to handle that case. But that is your next court date for your Tucson City Court case. Mr. Marsh, do you have all those dates?
I believe I do, Judge. I have June 20th, City Court, April 30th, Oro Valley, Steps May 1st, PH May 5th.
Right. Okay, perfect. So make sure you take that information from Mr. Marsh, and then you're all done for today.
Michael?
Toma?
Oh, that was, no, that was,
316.
yeah, you can do that.
Hi, tell me.
Abel Jacob Sona.
Mr. Tona, you are here today on charges of aggravated assault, domestic violence, criminal damage, and domestic violence, disorderly conduct. The ag assault is also domestic violence. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. They prepare a report for the court that tells me a little bit about you as well as the circumstances of this offense. I've also had a chance to review the state's recommendation as to your conditions of release. Looks like they are asking that you be released to pretrial services. That is the court's inclination, but we're going to have some conditions. You're not going to be allowed to return right now to your grandparents' house. Do you have somewhere else that you can stay?
No.
You need to find somewhere else if you want to be released. Can you do that?
I don't think so. No.
You want to take a minute, Mr. Marsh?
Thank you. May I be heard just for a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
We are going to request that the court impose a nominal bond for this case. I think that Mr. Tona's circumstances are that this is going to be the only possible housing that he's going to have.
Ms. Orozco, did you want to be heard further?
If that is the case, I would agree. There is a note in the pretrial services that mental health and substance abuse screening is appropriate. Perhaps an avenue in that regard can be addressed.
All right, the court is going to impose a $1,000 cash or secured bond in this case. Mr. Tona, if you post that bond, then you'd be released to pretrial. You have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You can't commit any acts of domestic violence, don't have any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms. At this time, you're not going to be allowed to have any contact with your grandparents or your minor brother in this case. Those are the victims, so you can't have any contact with them. That's going to apply to you while you remain in custody. So you may have the opportunity to have phone calls or get tablets to communicate with people, but you can't communicate with them. Do you understand those conditions?
Yeah.
And then you can't go to where they're living or working right now. You can talk with your attorney, and that's something that can be changed in the future, but you do have to abide by that court order for right now. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
All right. Your next court date is going to be May 5th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're expected to show up at all future court dates or a warrant could issue for your arrest. If you stay in custody, Mr. Tona, the jail will make sure that you get to your next hearing. But if you do post bond and get released, it's going to be important that you stay in contact with your attorney. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And you understand the consequences if you fail to appear for your hearing?
Yeah.
All right. You're all done for today, sir.
So I guess if you call my office, if you think there's a place that you can stay, something comes to mind, but you would be able to stay there, even if it's a treatment facility or something, okay? Talk with Lenny with us, and they see if they can get you released out of here to see the treatment facility, okay? Okay, you gotta get good to that. We'll try to work your problem. Ready to go.
Bullets.
Hi, ma'am. Tell me your full name.
Sherry Michelle Torres.
All right, Ms. Torres, you were here for an initial appearance on some drug charges, but it looks like the state is going to dismiss those charges without prejudice at this time. Is that right, Ms. Orozco?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. So those charges are being dismissed for now, and you are going to be released today. You're all done.
Thank you.
Tyler.
Hi, sir. Tell me your name.
Miss Wyrock.
Mr. Wyrock, you were here today on multiple matters, a couple of misdemeanors, some city court cases, and also some felony drug charges. The felony drug charges are possession of counterfeit fentanyl, possession of cocaine, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent on all of these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on the felony matters. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing here today. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. That report tells me a little bit about you as well as the circumstances of the offense. Looks like your Pima County Justice Court matters are from 2024, almost a year ago, for shoplifting and failing to appear on two separate matters. And then there's a city court case also that has a warrant out for your arrest for failing to appear.
I was wondering if, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I don't want you to say anything just yet, all right? Anything you say could be used against you. You'll have an opportunity to talk with Mr. Marsh in a moment. You are eligible to participate based on the nature of your felony charges in a pre-indictment substance abuse treatment program. So if you want to receive treatment, then you may be eligible. If the state finds that you are eligible to participate in that program and you successfully complete it, they would not go forward with these felony drug charges. Is that something that you're interested in doing?
Absolutely.
All right. And if I release you today, do you have someplace that you can stay?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Like, I have an address on Presidio Road. Is that a good address for you?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Absolutely.
So my inclination is to release to pretrial today. Anyone need to be heard further?
No, Your Honor.
So I am going to release you to pretrial services on the felony matter. You do have to stay in contact with that agency. I'm going to give you a hearing next week, May 1st at 9 a.m. You need to go to Pima County Superior Court on the 3rd floor and see Judge Hampson. In the courtroom on that date is going to be your attorney, pretrial services, and also substance abuse treatment providers in our community. If you're eligible for that program, you can sign up then and there, and you'll have the opportunity to get connected to services.
Awesome.
You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms on or while this case is going on. Willing to waive time, Mr. Marsh?
Yes, Your Honor.
What I just asked your attorney, sir, is normally the state would have 20 days to file these formal charges, but because you're being given an opportunity to participate in the pre-indictment diversion program, then we're going to give the state more time. So your next date is going to be kicked out to June 9th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you are going to be expected to show up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And I really stress the importance of showing up May 1st at 9. If you don't go, they're just going to go forward with these felony charges. And it really is a great opportunity, sir, to get things back on track for you. There's some great substance abuse treatment providers in our community that really work hard to help people. All right? We do need to talk about your other misdemeanor matters. On your 2 justice court cases, I am going to release you on your promise to appear. Your next court date on those matters is going to be May 5th at 8:30 in the morning. That'll be at Pima County Justice Court. You do have to appear at that date and time, or they could issue a warrant for your arrest. Wherever those shopliftings occurred, you are not allowed to return to the incident locations. That's where the victims are, and you can't go back there. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And if you fail to appear, do you understand that they can issue more warrants for your arrest?
Yes, I understand.
Pretrial services can really help make sure if you need rides to court, whatever it is that you may need assistance with, make sure to communicate with them on that. We do need to talk about your Tucson City Court case now. Again, I'm going to release you on that matter. And it looks like these are new charges for shoplifting and drug paraphernalia. Don't return to the incident location. That's where the victims are of that shoplifting. I am, as I've said, releasing you on that case as well. So your court date in Tucson City Court is going to be May 28th at 2:00 in the afternoon. And that's going to be in front of Judge Cranshaw. This is also your time for your arraignment on those 2 charges. You are presumed innocent. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf. If you fail to show up at court on May 28th at 2, they can issue a warrant for your arrest. And then they could also go forward with that hearing in your absence and set future hearings in your absence as well that include a trial. If you get convicted at a trial that's set in your absence and you can't be sentenced within 90 days, you're going to lose your right to a direct appeal. Do you understand all of those consequences if you fail to appear in the city court case?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, this is a really great opportunity, that STEPS program. I hope you show up next week and see Judge Hampson.
I will, thank you.
Good. All right, you're all done for today.
So it's next Thursday, 10 a.m. And then when you're released, your first needs to be pretrial service. Second falls to the legal office. Okay, the days of your dates for city court need to be 8th, justice court May 5th. Thank you. Ready to go.
Hi, sir. Tell me your name.
Brian Stewart.
Mr. Stewart, you are here today on felony charges of possession of dangerous drugs and possession of drug paraphernalia. We also need to talk about a city court case. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney on this matter. I am going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you today for purposes of the hearing. I've had an opportunity to review information by pretrial services. They prepared a report that tells me a little bit about you as well as the circumstances of the offense. It does look like DOC has placed a hold on you, Mr. Stewart. So regardless of what I do here today, it looks like they are going to have that hold, and you have to have that resolved. Based on the nature of these charges, Mr. Stewart, you may be eligible to participate in a pre-indictment diversion program, where if you receive substance abuse treatment and you want to participate in that program, if you successfully complete it, then the state would not go forward with these felony drug charges. Is that something you would like to do?
Absolutely.
Right. So based on all of the circumstances for Mr. Stewart, I am inclined to impose a $1,000 cash or secured bond in light of the DOC hold, and release to pretrial services if the DOC hold gets lifted, and then give him a STEPS hearing date, keeping the current preliminary hearing date. Does anyone have any objection to that?
Did not mark steps just because he has been in prison for a significant amount of time and has only been released for a few weeks. And so given the nature of the resisting arrest, I had a misdemeanor resisting arrest on there as well in the pretrial services report. Mm-hmm. And given his disciplinary history in DOC, we were recommending a higher bond, but it was just $2,500.
Right. And so I don't know. I mean, Mr. Stewart, I don't know if the state ultimately is going to approve you for the STEPS program, but based on the nature of these offenses, they're saying that you may be. So what I can tell you is If you don't get transported next week on May 1st, it's going to mean that you're not eligible for the program, and they're going to end up probably going forward with these charges as well. But for now, I'll give you that hearing of May 1st at 9. That's going to be in front of Judge Hampson. And again, you'll still be in custody because of the DOC hold, and they will transport you to Judge Hampson's courtroom. And again, if you're not eligible, it's up to the state. If they say you're not eligible, then you likely wouldn't be transported for that hearing. Your next hearing on these drug charges is going to be May 5th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you're going to be expected to show up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. If you stay in custody, the jail will make sure you get to your next court dates. But if you get released, then it's up to you to appear. Do you understand all of that, Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
All right. And then we need to talk about your city court case as well.
Sorry, just briefly, Your Honor. I think I missed the bond the court was going to impose.
$1,000 cash or secured, released to pretrial if that happens. And then, yep, if you do get released to pretrial, Mr. Stewart, you have to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You can't have any alcohol or drugs, and you can't have any firearms, which will all be conditions while you're on community release or parole as well. All right, now we need to talk about your city court case. This is for the resisting arrest and disorderly conduct. So we need to talk about your conditions there. This is also the time for your arraignment on that case. You are presumed innocent. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf today. On that matter, I'm going to appoint the City Public Defender's Office to represent you for those charges. I'm going to release you on the city case just so that you're not being held if everything else gets resolved. I don't know how likely that will be, but that will put a hearing date a little bit further out for you, June 20th at 9 a.m. That's going to be a non-transport review. The Public Defender's Office will be out to talk with you so that you have an opportunity to find out exactly how you can get your city court case resolved, possibly even before that June 20th date. Don't have any contact with the victim of the disorderly conduct charge. Do you understand the conditions of release in your city case, Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
And then if you fail to appear, you understand they could also issue a warrant for you? All right, you're all done for today. All right, everyone, we're done.